Hey guys, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be updated every time I make a new video. Thanks, let's begin. Love is in the air, as is 2,4,5-trioxin. Return of the Living Dead 3. Hell yeah. This installment in the Return of the Living Dead franchise is loosely connected to the first one. However, it's telling its own story. This also is episode 5 of the Vestron Viewings series. Let's begin. The plot. She is goth. His father is from military cloth. Together they're two lovers. They go to a military base and use his father's keycard to see something out of this world. After they leave, one is killed, and the other is faced with a choice. Zombie or not to be? That is the question. I think that's one of my better plot descriptions. This came out at a time where audiences were expecting more of a comedic horror element in their Return of the Living Dead films. People either embraced it for taking a different direction, or lambasted it for trying something new. I, myself, found this film to be a blast to watch, if not a bit forgettable. Back in my early teens, I saw this on the Sci-Fi Channel. I think it was on an all-day zombie marathon for House of the Dead 2. It was a blast to watch, but over the years I forgot quite a bit about it. Everything from the Riverman to the game. Now, after watching Vestron Video's new release of this film, as a part of the Collector's Series line, I still can't see why, but it has resulted in somewhat of the same outcome. This film is strong with its characters, storytelling, and gore. It's the Shakespearean tale where one love cannot live without the other's love. However, instead of one killing themselves, they doom themselves and their once dead lover.
Is that what I'm gonna become?
For the characters, we have Kurt Reynolds, played by J. Trevor Edmund from Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings, and the Lord of Illusions. He is the Romeo of this story. He is in love with his girlfriend and wants to break the metaphorical shackles put on him. Wherever his father goes, he has to go. However, one night, enough is enough, and he leaves his father to go out and live with his girlfriend.
Is there something else?
Dad, I'm not gonna go.
What?
I'm not gonna go.
Julie Walker, played by Melinda Clark, who was in the Tremors TV series in that episode of Night of the Shriekers, is our Juliet. She is the rebellious goth who has a tragic event happen to her. She dies, but then Kurt brings her back to life. From there, she craves brains and requires sustenance. She has to struggle with what she might become, and what she might become is horrifying. Colonel John Reynolds, played by Kent McCord from Predator 2, is Kurt's father. He has ties to the military, and a certain project involving 2,4,5-trioxin that goes horribly awry.
Jesus Christ. It didn't hold!
That's why he gets transferred. He's a stern father who doesn't seem to care for his son's rebelliousness. However, when shit gets serious, so does the Colonel. Colonel Sinclair, played by Sarah Douglas, who most people know from Superman 1 and 2, but I know her most from Return of Swamp Thing and Beastmaster 2 through the portal of time. She is a snooty suck-up. She wants to be in charge of the operation and undercuts Reynolds every chance she gets. Colonel Peck, played by James T. Callahan, is the one who is largely in charge of the operation. and oversees everything on the project, so he can give the answers or updates on it to the ones who financed it. Finally, there's a Riverman, played by Basil Wallace, who's just a homeless man who gets caught up in the horror of it all. He actually has a very sad ending. There's also this group of thugs that do add a sense of threat, but they don't impact the story way too much. The acting in this film is quite good for a low-budget 90s direct-to-video film that didn't even come out on DVD until 2001. The scene where Julie dies and Kurt cries is actually really sad.
You promised me! You can't leave me. You said you would never leave me.
They had tried to put some stuff in his eyes. I forgot what it was called. And they didn't put it on correctly, got all in his eyes. After that, he went up to the director, and the director said, "Perfect, it looks like you were crying." It wasn't a mean thing, it was just sorry to hear, but you look great, kind of thing. The setting is pretty primo. It mostly takes place on a military base, as well as in the city and the sewers. It was shot entirely in California, and has some nice beach shots. Like when Kurt meets up with Julie to go on a date. A daring date. I do really love the night scenes in the sewers. They're appropriately lit, with light beaming down from the drain covers. For the gore, the effects, for having a $2 million budget, which is half of what the first film had, and less than 1/3 what the second one did, they accomplish a ton of awesome effects. If you don't like intentional piercing on human skin, stay away. We get gruesome zombie attacks, blood everywhere, brains being eaten, and nasty self-inflicted wounds. It's likely the goriest Return of the Living Dead movie, and the fun doesn't stop there. The special makeup effects by Wayne Tooth and his studio are appallingly grueling. There are some monstrous freaks in this movie, and their goofy, gross, grotesque appearance really brings out the creep factor.
In 1 minute.
They actually pulled a homeless man from the LA airport to fill in the strapped-up zombie in the military base. It's the first undead sequence. Clarence Epperson was his name. And when they would string him up, his flap would open and his homeless junk would spill out. His delicates. Awkward yet hilarious. The motion picture soundtrack. Barry Goldberg, who also wrote the song for Lionheart, composes some excellent music here. It's a bit bombastic and over the top at times, but more so it's subdued and heartfelt. It makes the moments really stick with you more. I wish Goldberg went on to compose more noteworthy stuff. What we have here, though, is great nevertheless. Overall, this was a fun movie to watch all these years later. I will never understand why it is sometimes forgettable to me. It can be very powerful when it wants to be, and it has great execution with solid effects, and great acting and characters. Definitely check out this flick. You won't waste your time. And if you prefer the more comedic horror, parts 1 and 2 are easily accessible. Overall, I give Return of the Living Dead 3 a 2.5 out of 5. Thank you all for watching. I am Brian Gatto, the Horror Shark, and just giving the usual shoutouts to my Patreon supporters. If you would like to support me on Patreon or join the channel as a member, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. If you want to join the channel as a member, hit the join button under the video. Both have similar perks. You'll get early access to videos, shoutouts, as well as even some collaborations depending on how much you give a month. Join us. Also hit that notification bell to be notified every time I make a new video, and as always, subscribe. Bah.